Good afternoon from a sunny, bright, cloudless-ish, might be just one over there, pond maintenance day in, yes, it's still Peterborough. So basically I wanted to have a look at the water clarity and then give the bottom a clean, but surprise surprise, the bottom, if you can actually see that, does not look too bad at all. There's just a patch in the centre, so what I'm going to do is just give that a vac, go around everything, but I'm very pleased with the clarity after what was weeks of bits floating about, weed floating about, blanket answer, albeit that it worked correctly, made a right mess of the water clarity, and that took some time to shift, but here we are with almost crystal clear water, just a few bits in it, so I'm quite happy with that. So let's have a little sweep and see how it goes. I don't know if Kat can actually put the camera just underwater and point it.
Well, quick update from the greenhouse. So it is early August. We've been a bit busy, haven't managed to do any water tests for a while, unfortunately. I was away last weekend and stuff on. And we've noticed that the fish have been doing a bit of flashing. One's sort of jumped out of the water a couple of times this morning. Just over the last 3-4 days really. Steve was a bit worried about the ayahuasca yesterday, although it's not looking clamped when I look at it, of course, obviously. So we've thought we'd better start with the water test. Since the last time we talked about it, we'd had them on quite a low protein, low amount of food. We'd had them on 100 grams a day because we'd changed the media in the filter, put the Helex in from the K1. On one of these pots, I'll just step outside. One of these pots works out about 100 grams a day. So that's where we thought it, and I didn't realise it's crept up a little bit, and realise it crept up quite so much. Now luckily we've run out of mealworms, because I suspect they've been getting quite a lot more mealworms I thought. So anyway, basically just been fed a bit more. I thought we were up to about 200 grams a day. It's been a little bit more. So given the change of behaviour, did a water test, which we can go back in now. And surprisingly, it's all a little bit unusual. In a way that's good, because it means the reagents are still working. Yeah, the reagents basically need renewing at the end of this year. Given that our pond is usually dead stable. pH, now that's it's just above 7. As we demonstrated a few months ago, it does change throughout the day. This is obviously midday at the moment, almost exactly when I took the sample. That's a little bit low for us. We have very hard water, so GH is normally 12 to 13. At the moment it's 8, and KH, which is the buffer, the bicarb, is only 2, again normally about 6. Now we have had an awful lot of rain in the last July, June. I know some of you on the south coast haven't had any rain, but we've had quite a large amount. And of course we've been having some fairly involuntary changes in water changes. And I suspect this is the rain that we're seeing, because we don't test over winter, so because we don't know what normally happens over winter. Weather's supposed to get a little bit better. I'm just going to keep an eye. I'm not going to rush to put bicarb in at the moment because so we'll just see what happens if it gets a bit dry and we don't get much rain. We're more reliant on tap water going in, which is the hard water. The next surprising thing is the nitrate. As I said before, we changed the Helex, which means obviously we didn't have much bacteria. I put them some extra filter gel in and thankfully bought some more, and we've got and so we had one restricted feeding, and it was okay, so we started to increase the food. Well, the nitrite is high this time, which may be the reason why the behaviour's changed. Ammonia thankfully is bright yellow. Happy with that. That means the ammonia is good. So the protein, the ammonium that comes out in the urine is being converted into nitrite. It's the next stage that we haven't quite got enough bacteria doing. Nitrate, that's okay. That sometimes does go up a little bit, just slightly. It's not particularly worrying today. It's a little bit higher than normal, but I'm not worried. It's this one that is potentially a problem. So what we're going to do about it? Well, some more bacteria for a start. Because obviously that's what we need to get. Is nitrous ammonius, or is it the next? Is that one that's ammonia to nitrate? Nitrate, I can't remember. Anyway, so need to get that one, that in, which I'll do as soon as I've cleared this up. Restrict food. Now they've already had most of one of those, so they've already had nearly 100 grams today. So perhaps they ought to have perhaps only one of those pots. So again, we'll restrict it, but get it back down, and we'll get some air in. When I'm out of the way, then we'll get some air into so the fish a bit, help them actually do the processing themselves, because the nitrite affects the oxygen exchange in the gills. So that's the plan, and fingers crossed that will sort it out. I suspect we'll probably also do a scrape because there's been a lot of disturbance. Obviously all this stuff we've been doing with the rodding, getting the blockage out, who knows what bugs have been in the bottom of that. We have actually been looking out for flashing and sort of expecting this, so I suspect we probably will do a scrape as well, but I think we're probably going to get this right and at least get the air in for a while before we give any treatments. Question is why? You'd have thought now, about 6-7 weeks since we changed the media. It's got to be mid-June, it's now August. So you'd hope, it's all going nicely brown, it's all maturing. So you'd hope that will be working quite well, and of course we do have media in the upflow filter as well. We put the plants in, so they use nitrite to clean up, and they're looking pretty good, as you can see. Hopefully see the lobelia at this end. It's flowering, the mint's flowering, spearmint you can't see it, it's actually flowering, and then there's another couple of little plants that are getting a bit crowded out. Interesting that the mint is going green again. It had gone quite yellow, all of it, which is an indicator of lack of nutrients. So I was thinking, yeah, that's great, we're cleaning, but obviously there are some of the branches that have got enough nutrients. So that may be that is an indicator of how of what is in the water. Nice to see lots of bees on it as well. It's great. Just a tip, you do need to watch out. It seems to be a snail farm. I got 12 or so out the other day. So yeah, the other thing that's changed is, of course, we stripped all the blanket weed out. We had huge problems with blanket weed. We were taking it out manually. The fish have been eating it, but it was sort of covering the pond, and that was what was causing the blockage. So of course cleared the sides. Now I don't know if you'll be able to see this because I haven't got the polarised filter on. Yeah, you probably can't quite see well enough, but there's only a light covering of weed. Oh, here they come. I think they've got food. They're going to be disappointed. And it may be that we had so much weed in that actually we were just getting nitrogen fixation or nitrate conversion out of the blanket weed, and of course we've removed that. And so suddenly, maybe our bacteria aren't as mature as we think. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens. Keep you updated. I'll do another test in what's it? It's Wednesday today, so I'll do a test at the weekend. I've probably got time to do it then. There's nothing going on, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, it gets interesting, doesn't it? I'll see you later. So what we have here is the outfall. First time Steve used it, it was discharging onto the grass, and then realised that we're probably draining the pond. How many litres a minute? How many litres a second?
8,000 litres an hour, and that's the coarse bag.
Which is 133 litres a minute.
That's the coarse bag, so that's taken out all the thick stuff.
You can see the
and I've only done 3 passes.
In that.
And then the fine filter, which is on the return, just created a little bit of cloudy water.
But as you can see, there's quite a lot of stuff that's been filtered by that as well. Obviously the fines are just too small to be caught in this filter, but that seems to be working pretty well, I would say. Certainly generated a lot of interest. I think they know they're on shore.
So this is a view now. I'll just show you the corner of the pond. I've put the brush attachment on, and that's what the corner of the pond looks like. I didn't go too mad with the cleaning. I just wanted to get the loose crud that were floating around. Just to have a look at the mesh bags. Firstly, the coarse bag. So this is the coarse bag. Hopefully I can undo this with one hand. Tip this out. So this is the coarse stuff that I've just pulled out, and I've only had half a dozen passes really, at the bottom of the pond. So yeah, quite thick cruddy mess. And then the fine filter, which is, I have no idea how many microns that is, but that is super fine. So I'm just going to tip this out. I'll turn it inside out. I don't know which way that would be better. I tell you what, I'll just scoop a sample out, because this thing is quite stiff. So as you'd expect, really fine. And all you get discharged back into the pond is like a fine mist, which is still apparent, but I'm very impressed. Very impressed. So yeah, the pond water is looking lovely. We're going to put some extra air in because we've got quite a hot day. We've got a couple of fish that are just acting out of character, so we're going to keep an eye on them. One is the Iowakaba, which is, I hope you can see this, which is this one. And that's been clamped up on a couple of occasions, but as you can see, it's swimming without any stress at the moment. So what I'm going to do to de-stress all of them is put the air back on and give them a sense of normality. So we'll leave it there for the moment, but that is so clean, so clean. So wonderful Oase. You got a bit of water on your face there. Wonderful Oase vac. Well impressed. Catch you later. Well, that about wraps it up. Just have a quick look at the little natural pond, have a walk up the garden and call it a draw. Been a busy day today. Been to a dentist. Whoa, can you remember them back in the day? Dentist. Right, little pond. It's quite clear. Clarity's lovely. A bit of shenanigans going on in there as well. Those boys and girls know how to party. Rest of the garden looking good. Managed to mow the lawn twice. I'll just have a walk up here. All cat's bits, strawberries going on. Look at the size of these things. Boom. Yeah, so now we've got the extra air on. and everything seems to have calmed down, which is really unusual. So clarity now is looking absolutely lovely. And to think last week it was like pea soup. But anyway, we managed to get on top of things. I'm going to put the lids on and make a bit of tea. Right, thanks for listening to our ramblings. Kat's going to do a further water test later, and we're going to monitor the characteristics of a couple of fish, and if they're still having a scratch, we're going to do a scrape, but that's in the future. So in the meantime, 5 jabs, 6 jabs, I don't know, I've just lost count now. Look after your family, look after your fish, and goodbye.